Welcome to the Contrarians and tonight's topic. The topic tonight, this band's Dark Side of the Moon. Your favorite band has one. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's do it. Let's get started. Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight's show we are talking the band's Dark Side of the Moon. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean. So we're going to talk about different bands and what their quote-unquote Dark Side of the Moon is. I want to welcome the panel tonight. Andrew, the Elder, and Rich. Holy crap, look at him. Look at him. I'm just saying, look at him. Anyway, so we'll probably go an hour. I'm not sure how many times we can go around, but it's just a conversation. We're not trying to change the world, but we are trying to turn you on to some stuff. So anyway, let's get started. Let's just go one around and around and around. I suppose I should start with Andrew since he started. He was here first. All right, Andrew, then we'll go Elder and then Rich. If you guys hadn't heard the conversation prior to when we recorded, God, I hope I hit record. Well, you know where this is going. All right, here we go. Andrew, welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Thank you. So this is a follow-up to if you saw our This Band's Love Beach episode. This is the opposite of that. This would be the consensus pick for the band's masterpiece. And it might not be one you agree with. You may have another favorite album. But for example, Dark Side of the Moon is not my favorite Pink Floyd album, but it is kind of the definitive pick of what is kind of the Pink Floyd album. And I won't go through other examples because people probably have.
I think everybody probably would know, but you know.
Yeah. So that's the idea. And so I'm going to pick my first one just because, again, this is my job on the Contrarians to bring more U2 to the Contrarians.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Well, Joshua Tree. And you want to know something interesting about these definitive Dark Side of the Moon? It's like the band almost knew, because almost all bands Dark Side of the Moons are a gatefold or a double album or something. Like they put a lot into these albums. But Joshua Tree, which is not my favorite U2 album, Unforgettable Fire is, but Joshua Tree's up there. It's a great album. It's truly a masterpiece. And you can, even though Unforgettable Fire is my favorite U2 album, you can tell that this is the progression from that. Everyone knows this album. Everyone knows probably every song on this album. It's was done at a time that I feel like made U2 even more superstars than they might have normally been, because I feel like it's 1987 it comes out. Just actual real rock is kind of hurting at that point, because you've got AOR, which is kind of dead by then. Obviously, prog is dead. New wave is kind of still lingering in the background. You've got hair metal dominating the airwaves. And U2 comes out with just a solid rock album, which is poetically great, musically great. You've got Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois producing it. It's an album that stands the test of time. You can listen to this album today and enjoy it like it's 1987. You don't feel like you're listening to an 80s album. It's thematic. I mean, it's not a concept album in sort of a story way, but it is a concept album as far as it's a theme. And obviously it's got the desert theme. It came with one of the a great big tour that kind of made them superstars on the road. So Joshua Tree by U2 is my first one.
That's a good pick. That's the obvious choice.
It has to be the obvious choice.
My personal favorite, I'm just going to say, and I've said this on different shows, is U2 War. That is my favorite. Joshua Tree, I don't have that much use for, but U2 War I thought was just absolutely perfect.
So, okay, do you agree that, and this is going to be, we'll go on a tangent.
We're never going to get through this show.
Okay, but U2 War it almost sounds like it's coming from a different band than what Unforgettable Fire sounds like because of Brian Eno. I mean, and
well,
those
that's Steve Lillywhite.
Yeah, so Steve Lillywhite is producing War, which is just a very Clash style post punk album, like Irish Clash. And
to me, that sounds like U2 in their raw sense, guitar, bass, and drums.
Yeah,
no real flourishes. That just sounds like U2. Let's set them loose in the studio and do it. You've got an album, all of good songs. There's no filler. It's all killer, ladies and gentlemen.
they were a great post punk band, but they were an even better Brian Eno produced just rock band, atmospheric band, and that's what made them. I mean, it's when the Edge started sculpting sound. That's what makes you.
I think he was sculpting sounds on War.
Not like Unforgettable Fire.
See, I was a big fan of
Here we go.
Oh yeah, Achtung Baby. I agree, Elder. Achtung Baby is great, and I almost think that those albums progress. Unforgettable Fire Unforgettable Fire is, and it might just be nostalgic.
Because, I like that album too. Yeah.
I'm thinking listening to that.
That was one of the ones that, being the metalhead I was in the '80s for the most part, that it was okay for metalheads to like that album.
Well, there's not any metal on it though.
No,
but it was still a thing. It was still like we got it. We kind of got. I don't know. We've respected Edge a little bit as a guitar player for one thing.
Why is
and we respect him as musicians.
Please don't look at the Edge when he plays Helter Skelter on the damn live album. Jesus, that's the most horrible thing. Well, I mean, he is not he's barely a guitar player.
He is an artist of sound. We'll just call him that. He sculpts sound. But yeah, I agree. Achtung Baby is a master. I mean, that mid-period U2 is the glory days of U2, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about U2 all day. We should do a show on U2. It'd be great.
Uh-oh. There you go.
I've already done it. I couldn't do it again. All right. So awesome. Andrew, we're just talking music. We do want to hear from you in the comments. Please let us know, what is the best U2 album? Because before Andrew and I fight and take each other out, we want to hear from you. But it's all good. It's all about talking music. I love these shows because, we kind of hash it out. It's all good. All right. Elder, what's your next pick? Or what's your first pick?
Well, as I was putting this list together, I noticed a little theme kind of came about within my picks. So, and when I start saying them, you'll probably get it here in a second. But the first one is going to be Megadeth, with a lot of people consider Rust in Peace to be their masterpiece, their thrash masterpiece. And I kind of agree with that. Some people might say Countdown to Extinction. But to me, that was a little bit more commercial in some parts and ran a little long. But so Rust in Peace, I agree if everybody thinks that, because it's nice, short, to the point. It's got some great playing, great songs. It's Marty Friedman's and Nick Menz's first album with the band, so they were on fire, and just seemed to, and that kind of showed. I think also they were, I think Dave were newly sober as well. That might have helped as well. So
remind me, what year was that?
1990.
Okay.
Maybe. You want to know what's crazy about that era of Megadeth? They were actually bigger than Metallica at that point. And I think
so too, yeah.
That. Yeah.
Especially when that album came out, they were.
Yeah.
That was before the Black Album, so they were.
Yeah. It didn't last long, but there was a time where Megadeth was like the king of that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool.
But I agree with that pick. If everybody, if somebody, they put out a lot of great stuff since then, and I especially like the last album they put out. That was pretty close to a masterpiece, I thought. But we'll see what they come up with next. But yeah, but I agree with everybody that thinks Rust in Peace is their masterpiece.
I think for the most part, most people will be on board with that.
Yeah.
The panel's pretty quiet, so I think you're good, Elder.
Well, I really don't know. I don't know Megadeth. So I can't really offer any.
Damn it, Rich! I thought you were gonna come in with something.
Oh, I do have something. Believe me, I have something.
I thought we were gonna talk about Megadeth. Good Lord.
Oh man.
All
Well,
right. Thank you, Elder. Excellent. Top-notch stuff. Rich, go ahead. What's your first pick? I can
well,
hardly wait to hear.
this is not, I mean, it's my personal favorite from this band. I don't know if any of their albums are considered like the band's Dark Side of the Moon, but this was a band that was big very briefly in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's King Missile. I don't know if you guys remember them, but the album I'm referring to is Happy Hour, and they were
Never seen it
basically
before.
and they were basically this guy John S. Hall, kind of a singer poet, and he would recite these monologues under which the band would play music, and they had a lot of classic, novelty hits like Cheesecake Truck and Sandbox and Jesus Was Way Cool,
And
and
Detachable Penis was one.
and that's how
That's always a favorite with me.
That was on Beavis and Butthead. That's how I know that.
And the album that the Detachable Penis from, Happy Hour, is, I think, the band's masterpiece. I think it's just an incredible album. I think John S. Hall had never been better as a lyricist and a singer on it. I think his lyrics are brilliant, and the music that goes behind it almost like surpasses it sometimes. And I just think it's an incredible album from start to finish. Good variety of moods. Some outright hilarious stuff like Martin Scorsese, in which this guy, John S. Hall, is ranting about he makes the best effing films. He makes the best effing films. If I was to meet him, he's describing all these violent things that he would do to Martin Scorsese if he met him, and throwing the F word in like a million times. And that's really funny. And then there's It's Saturday, which is this monologue underneath which there's this incredible drum solo by the drummer Roger Murdoch. And I think that song is brilliant. And to me, the album just keeps on going from one highlight to the next. And my favorite song on it is actually the last one, called Happy Hour. And for a band that's known for doing really silly stuff, this, I think, is their most serious song. It's a really kind of depressing, dark song with some very powerful images in the lyrics. And I've never been able to understand what the lyrics mean, but I kind of feel like I can relate to it on an emotional level. And I think you can tell that John S. Hall was raised as a Catholic, and because I don't know, I associate some of the images in that with the Catholic Church, and that song just brings chills up and down my spine every time I hear it. And probably one of the most depressing songs, but it's also quite beautiful and just very strong. And for an album in which the band is outright goofy at times, I think it's a cool way to end the record. And like I said, I don't know what other people's opinion of King Missile is, what their favorite album, but to me, I think Happy Hour is that's definitely their Dark Side of the Moon for me. And it's an album I just can't say enough good things about. So probably my favorite album of the 90s.
So what year did that come out exactly?
1992.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard it. I remember the band back in the day, but I just never ever went down that road.
Yeah, and the music is like kind of a combination of like hard rock, grunge, occasionally pop. There's a really serious ballad on there that has Mellotron in it, so it's a little bit of King Crimson, 70s hard rock and grunge, and probably the heaviest album they did too in terms of music. But yes, it's an album I just can't recommend enough for people.
And just to go back real quick, what's the name of the album?
It's Happy Hour.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. See, this is what I like about these shows because we have a panel on, we have different people expressing themselves about records maybe someone else on the panel hadn't heard. So it's all about turning you on to music. So, yes, if you've heard this record, down in the comments, please leave a comment. I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Now, why do I keep thinking I'm going to spend more money?
I haven't
always
thought
hanging.
about King Missile since then, and I remember really liking it. So I
Well, there you
appreciate
go.
being reminded of King
Yeah, I'll have to
Missile.
check that out because I think I did hear that CD because working in CD retail in the 90s. I think I probably played that a few times. I just have to refresh my memory as far as it.
Rich,
Yeah.
I could probably look on the computer to see how many albums out, but how big of a catalog does that band have?
Well, I think that this was maybe their fifth or sixth album. They released one called Fluting on the Hump, and then they released a second one whose name I forget. Then there's Mystical Shit,
Mhm.
and then there's
Of course.
The Way to Salvation, Happy Hour, and then there's Self-Titled, which came out a few years later. And then that band broke up and they became King Missile 2 or 3, and I thought they absolutely sucked. The newer incarnations of King Missile, because I felt like John S. Hall just kind of lost it as a writer. He just wasn't as funny as the original as he couldn't keep it up. It was like a comedian whose jokes are no longer, people no longer find funny. And I just think,
But that record, that was on a major label, right? Label, right?
Atlantic.
What was it on?
Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess it was the song Jesus Was Way Cool that got them signed to Atlantic. So John S. Hall says, Jesus was responsible for my band landing on Atlantic Records. So, yeah. And I saw them on that tour in Ithaca, and I left the show early, and I was like, now I'm kicking myself because after that concert, I became a huge fan. So I wish I would have stayed around for the whole show. But,
Awesome.
okay, so that's my first pick.
I love this show. I love this type of topic. I'm going to give Andrew Halloran an applause for coming up with it. All right, I'm just going to keep going because there's plenty. I could go on, but I'd rather hear what you guys have to say. Andrew, what's your next pick?
So, okay, my next one, I guess maybe it's kind of boring because it's probably not going to elicit any arguments. Well, maybe it will.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
It might.
Okay. So this artist has a huge catalog, and obviously he's a major artist. And the thing is, what would his definitive masterpiece be? Is it an early one, a later one, a middle one? And I don't think it's very arguable, but Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders, Rise of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars is David Bowie's definitive masterpiece. Is it my favorite David Bowie? It actually probably is. This is a great album. And from my favorite period of Bowie, I like the Eno years a lot, obviously with my U2 thing that I just said. But yeah, I mean, this is a perfect album. It's the perfect kind of concept album where it's not cheesy, where it's like you're like having, chapters of a story, but it's still conceptual enough that you can follow along the plot. And it does set the stage for, this entire work of art, which is the Ziggy Stardust character. This is musically, it's great. I mean, Mick Ronson's guitar work on this is amazing. Bowie's songwriting is amazing. Bowie's voice, because it's before he got that voice where it's more of like Bowie's, rock voice. Which is better to me. But yeah, one of the only albums that I'm showing that is not a gatefold, and actually the point.
Is that an original RCA? What is that?
No, this would be the 180 gram. This is an EMI reissue, but I don't think the RCA had anything in the middle either.
Well, I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, you can go on the Steve Hoffman site and talk about this all day. All I'm going to say, you can listen to me or not. The original RCA CDs that RCA put out back in the 80s of this stuff is the best sounding Bowie you're ever going to get. A lot of those were flat transfers, and a lot of those recordings just sounded great. You get some tape hiss. You get to hear exactly what the tape sounds like. If you can go out and afford it, go out and get those RCA CDs because they're absolutely breathtaking in sound.
Did you like those Ryko disc reissues?
No, because they were futzed with. The RCAs aren't futzed with.
Yeah.
You want the original RCA CDs. I'm just throwing it out there.
I agree.
Don't believe what you hear about a lot of those 80s CDs.
But these 180 gram vinyl reissues are pretty. I wonder, it would be interesting to hear this next to the actual RCA vinyl and see what.
Well, those original RCAs that were on that, what were they on? What did they call that with the real flimsy shit?
The long docks?
No.
The real flimsy.
What did they call it? What did they call that vinyl from RCA back in the day?
It was like record club type.
No, but remember their vinyl was kind of flimsy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but the thing is with those, they might be like not as thick, but those albums were all on virgin vinyl. And it doesn't matter how thick it is. Who cares? Yeah. It's all about the mastering. And all I'm going to say is those RCA CDs sound absolutely wonderful. And there's a reason why they go for so much money is because of that. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm not a huge David Bowie fan, but Ziggy Stardust is one of 2 albums that I have of his. The other one is Low. But I never really...
It was a great record.
Yeah, I never really completely got into David Bowie. I feel like that's probably an artist that I should explore a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, Martin would say a retirement band, right? But yeah, I mean, the Space Oddity album, whatever you call it, whatever incarnation you see it, that through Scary Monsters.
Yeah.
That's a near perfect catalog. I mean,
I'm trying to remember what Martin likes. Doesn't he like Scary Monsters?
Yeah, I'm sure. Martin always veers towards the 80s, so he probably likes Scary Monsters, I would imagine.
God, I can't remember. That was like the last great. That was the last great record, I think.
What's great about it is it's almost like it's the end of the story. You know, if David Bowie was a comic book, that's his, Dark Knight Returns.
Mm-hmm. But I do like Let's Dance. I do like it. It's a fine record.
Are you ever going to mistake Let's Dance for Low, though?
No.
It's an 80s pop album.
But it depends upon what you like.
Yeah. Stevie Ray Vaughan is no Mick Ronson.
No, totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. But I will agree with you. I think for anyone getting into Bowie, I think that, the Suffragette City, come on.
Starman. You got even the
Starman.
Like Lady Stardust is great. It's Moon Age Daydream. I mean, it's
it's a good record. It sounds great as well. And it's good production, good songwriting. The band's on fire.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but whatever. We do want to hear from you in the chat. Let us know what your favorite David Bowie is. We're just dudes talking. Know what's good or bad. I'm just some guy.
The thing is, there isn't a David Bowie that anyone's going to be like, no, this is the best album. That anyone's going to be like, no, it's not, because they're all.
But
good.
Ziggy Stardust is pretty damn good.
They are good, yeah.
I like Hunky Dory too.
I like Man Who Sold the World. I like Hunky Dory.
I like that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I really like the Eno trilogy too. But
it's all, this is why we talk music. It's so fun to talk about these different records. All right. So David Bowie. Awesome. Super.
David Bowie.
Elder.
Yes.
Dazzle me with something.
All right. So there's some debate on whether, I don't know, there may be debate on whether this is this band's best album, but I think along the real guitar players it is. Van Halen, Fair Warning.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, so some people might say 84, some people might say Women and Children, but I think among like the real guitar players and stuff, this is considered to be the Van Halen masterpiece is, I don't know, where he just showed like, I don't know, just he came up with a brown sound maybe on this, and
No, I mean, if you listen to Martin, he says the brown sound came like on Van Halen 2 or something like that. I don't know. I hear, when I hear Eddie playing, it all kind of sounds the same to me. You can tell it's him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like anything's really changing. But I think with Fair Warning, I think that it's kind of a dark record.
That's what I mean. Dark
kind
record.
of
Kind of seen as their dark record.
But I think there's no filler on that record at all.
Mm.
And I think that they were all just kind of really in sync with each other. I think it's by far the best record because as an artistic statement, you listen to Fair Warning, it just doesn't seem like we're a party band, blah, blah, blah. Let's just hang out in the backyard and have a party. They seem to be much more serious on Fair Warning.
It's the only Van Halen album to me that sounds like an actual album. And all the other Van Halens sound like it's just like party and fun and some
or a collection of tracks.
Yeah.
You're Andrew, you are 100% right. It sounds like an album.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yep.
Elder, we full of shit?
No. Definitely. Yeah, it is like a dark album. Because like you said, it's not all party lyrics. A lot of it, most of it isn't party lyrics if you think about it. I mean,
I think it's a great record.
You got Mean Streets and you got Dirty Movies and Unchained, and those aren't like real,
Some of Eddie's best riffs on the planet, I would say, are on that record.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No Hot for Teachers on that album.
No, but you would think about it, panel. You would never think Hot for Teacher would never fit on Fair Warning at all.
No.
Hot for Teacher's like going back into party mode.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Fair Warning's a much serious record. It would never fit on there.
My personal favorite is the first one. I remember getting that for Christmas and getting on cassette and really, really loving that album. And I remember that song Running with the Devil that I had a hard time figuring out his lyrics. That one line, I've got no love to call real. Mm-hmm. I thought it said no love in Korea. And which I think it's a better lyric. I don't know.
People don't really talk about it, but David Lee Roth's lyrics, he was really good at writing lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
He was very well thought out. He knew exactly what to do for the song. I mean, Fair Warning's probably one of the best examples of that, too. I think Fair Warning 100% is where everything really came together. Though the first album, Van Halen 2, I don't have a problem with those records at all. But there's something about Fair Warning that really says, here we are. This is Van Halen. I think you're right. But, hey, if Rich likes the first album, hey, I know Martin likes the first album. Because he likes the way that production is. I wish Martin was on this show. Damn it. But I know he likes that. I know he likes that record. Yeah, I wish we had Martin on here. Oh, this would be a great conversation. I like getting Martin all worked up. But anyway, cool. Elder, 100%. All right, Rich, go ahead. What's your next one? Oh, I can hardly wait.
Well, this is one that actually people have heard of. And it's probably considered this band's best album. And I agree. That's Deep Purple, Machine Head.
Never heard of them.
Is there a hit off of
Are
that?
they a pop rock band? Never heard of them.
And
Deep Purple? Gee.
They have a hit off of that?
That was my introduction to Deep Purple. My oldest brother bought it. We were into Rainbow, and then he brought home Machine Head, and it's considered their best record, I think, by a lot of people, and I would definitely agree with that. I think that it definitely is their best album in terms of songs, and in terms of the solos. I think both John Lord and Ritchie Blackmore, their solos are brilliant on that. Like for Highway Star. I mean, the guitar solo is great, and I like that his guitar solo starts off kind of a little bit of a country twang to it. But John Lord's organ solo for that song is just incredible. Yeah, I just feel like when it came time for solos, that both John Lord and Ritchie Blackmore came up with their best stuff. I think Highway Star and Smoke on the Water contain my two favorite Ritchie Blackmore solos. And I actually bought this one anniversary edition of Machine Head that had alternate mixes of the songs.
Yeah, I've got that.
I got that one.
And they had a different guitar solo for Smoke on the Water, and it was really weird not hearing, the regular.
You're so used to hearing the other version. It sounds really strange.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, I can see why they didn't go with this, but then again, if that was the original solo, and I don't know, sometimes you just like what you hear first the best. But yeah, I just think it's a really well constructed solo. I don't think there's really a weak song on the album. Probably the weakest track is maybe I'm a Leo, but I think that's for a weak song on a record, I think it's still really.
If that's really the weakest track, then I'll take that all day.
Yeah, and Pictures of Home is brilliant. Never before Deep Purple were sure that was going to be a big hit, and they released it and it did nothing, and instead Smoke on the Water became the big one. And Lazy, I think, is great. There was a DVD, The Making of Deep Purple Machine Head, and for some reason they don't mention Lazy. They talk about the other songs, and they even talk about a song.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen that one. Yeah, and it's weird.
Yeah, and they don't mention Lazy, and they mention a song that was a bonus track in later editions, When a Blind Man Cries, and it's like, but I don't understand why they don't talk about Lazy on that, because that to me is kind of the centerpiece of the album.
Was that on the original album classics?
Classic albums or something.
Yes,
a series.
Classic album series. Is that what?
Yeah, they've done like Rush and there's a Black Sabbath Paranoid one, and they didn't go through all the
Steely Dan. They look at Asia.
Yeah,
and Space Truckin', I think I love Space Truckin'. I think that is such a cool song, and I love.
Yeah, it's cool.
Ian Pace's drum fill. Right before everybody else comes in, and again, and I got to praise his drumming on it too. His drumming, the drum fills that he comes up with on that entire album, I think it's fantastic. 100%. And I remember, looking at the pictures of the guys inside, come to the gatefold, and I like the fact that they look like just like a bunch of dirty farmers, just these, kind of dirty looking people, just dressed in regular, clothes and stuff. And two or three of them, are Ritchie Blackmore and Ian Gillan are in bad need of a shave, so they got that stubble growing. And the pictures of Ritchie Blackmore, it looks like he was absolutely miserable when they were taking his picture for the photos that are inside.
He was probably miserable during the sessions.
Yeah. But anyhow, like I said, that's my pick, Machine Head, and it's still my favorite Deep Purple. I think it's great.
Some people might say In Rock.
Yeah, In Rock is close, but I think Machine Head wins.
Now, you can't argue though with Machine Head's just the songs on it are more classic.
They're catchy. And they're heavy. The production's good. You mentioned the solos, John Lord, Ritchie Blackmore. What is there to? You mentioned I'm a Leo, but that's not even weak. I think there's not a weak track on it. Production, everything checks.
Well, I said the weakest song, but but for one of the lesser songs, it's still really good. It's kind of one of those deep album tracks that people kind of forget sometimes, and it's
it's a perfect record.
Yeah, it is.
Come on, it is.
The solos, the bouncing back and forth with Richie Blackmore and John Lord, it's almost like Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich. I mean, it's almost like they're like battling
Nice.
out for who is the best solo. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, especially like Highway Star. And
Yeah.
it's why no matter how many times you hear Highway Star, it's always exciting because of those two solos.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
And of course, Ian Gillan's great on it too. I mean, everybody in the band is just really.
Yeah.
I think everybody was in top form, and it seemed like a very inspired record. They were really working together as a band on that.
Well, that's why I think there's something about that Mark II chemistry. You cannot deny it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at, the David Coverdale era, and yeah, it's fine, but there was something about Mark II. There was something magical about it.
Yeah, and even like who do we think we are? I mean, which is
I like that record too.
Yeah, and I love the song Our Lady. That's like my favorite song off that album. I like that it's almost them kind of like ambient a little bit, and it's really doesn't sound like anything that they did before. It's just very, I don't know. I just love that song.
I don't really know why that album gets kind of a review. I have no problem with it. It kind of continues on where they were. The production's great. The songs are good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's me. I just don't get it. But it is what it is. So
yeah.
But I don't know. Bernd, you cannot deny that Bernd is that's a great record. Holy crap. That record's on fire. But I think Machine Head, I think that's where it's at. All right, cool. Thanks, Rich. Awesome. Gee, Merry Christmas. All right, Andrew, give us another one.
All right. So we're gonna go up to the 90s now.
Oh my.
10 years after U2 saves rock with the Joshua Tree. This band, to me, saves music in 1997, and it's a band that doesn't get brought up.
Hold on, 1997. Let me think about 1997 before you. 97.
You've got the landscape.
Okay, give us a head. Give the panel a head.
Yeah, so this is a band that brings art back to rock and roll.
Oh,
97.
Ah, yeah, Elder got it.
Well, I will say
OK
Computer's a brilliant record.
This is, and I think it's inarguably the band's definitive masterpiece.
I agree.
I mean, they've done really good things outside of OK Computer, but OK Computer is such an amazing album. And I saw this tour. I went and saw it by myself at Radio City Music Hall, and it was an amazing show. The band had an amazing amount of chemistry. I just remember this, ironically, with the topic title, this album getting compared to Dark Side of the Moon, which I don't really understand the comparison.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, the comparisons a lot.
Yeah, it's always like, oh, it's kind of like Dark Side of the Moon.
But it is kind of a different animal. Totally.
Yeah, it totally is. But what's great about this album is that, Radiohead kind of starts off in the early 90s. It's just kind of like, oh, it's 90s alternative, whatever. And then The Bends comes out, which is a much better album, but is very, dare I say, U2-y. But then OK Computer comes out, and it's just them. And this is just lyrically, thematically, musically, this is a great just work of art, except for the album cover, which is one of the worst album covers by great albums of all time.
See, I never thought about it like that.
The album cover?
Yeah, I don't have issues with the album cover.
I don't even know what it is. I don't know. It's hardly. You would think this should have an iconic cover, maybe just one of these little symbols or something. I don't know.
I think that the cover reflects what's on the album very well.
It's just, what is it? I understand it's like an interstate. I don't know.
Andrew, you just have to accept.
Yeah, I don't want to nitpick. It's a great album, and it's my choice. But yeah, it's their worst album cover. But yeah.
It's The Bends is better. That's a better
album. The Bends is creepy. I actually rated it.
I don't know. Do they really have great album covers? I'm just going to throw it out there.
In Rainbows is fine because it's just the words. But yeah, it's
But I think with that, because okay, this is how I look at that record. I for one, that's my favorite album of that year. I'm it's hard to believe that it's been that long since it came out because it sounds fresh today as it did then. The beautiful thing about that, because Radiohead, they kind of keep going, they keep going, they keep progressing, they get to the point where they're avant-garde.
Mhm.
And I've always said this: Radiohead is the 90s version of Talk Talk. Catchy songs in the beginning, and they just kept going more bizarre, more bizarre. But OK Computer is the perfect blend of experimental, yet with songs that you can listen to and they're very catchy. Throw it, say pop if you want. It's the perfect blend of, experimental, avant-garde, and pop music because all the songs are memorable and it's not alienating. Well, yeah, but the music's kind of alienating because of just the way the production is. But they're all great songs. I think it's their masterpiece. Though A's damn good, but see, A kind of goes even further where OK Computer is the perfect blend of all of it.
Yeah,
That's the
Kid
way I
A
look
to
at it.
me is not very accessible, but OK Computer definitely is, and to the point where Karma Police was like a legitimate hit.
But it's
And
catchy, it's
it's
memorable.
catchy, and um, Paranoid Android is an epic, right up there with some of the great '70s prog epics. I
Mhm.
just think it's a great album.
That's a good pick. I didn't see Radiohead coming, but yeah.
Just wait till my next pick.
Oh God, Jesus. All right, Elder, you're up.
All right.
We'll
Switching
do
gears
this
a
one and go
little.
around one more time. All right, Elder,
All
go
right.
ahead. Dazzle us.
Well, some people might think that because it sold so well that this band's Metallica's Black Album would be their
I
masterpiece,
thought you
but
were
I think
talking permanent vacation. No?
no, that's my next one. No, just kidding.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, no, but I think more people might say there might be some debate, but I think most people would say Master of Puppets is Metallica's Dark Side of the Moon. Um,
I would totally agree with that.
yeah, it's like came together really well. It's their first also out of the shadow of Mustaine. There's no writing credits from Dave Mustaine on it. It's total them four with the writing. Um, I just it brought a whole new Ride the Lightning like was real thrashy and it so some maturity, but this one just brought that the next step forward with as far as the lyrics and the music and things like Welcome Home Sanitarium and Disposable Heroes and Orion. It's just so I think that I would think most people think that that would be their Dark Side of the Moon and Master Puppets, despite the Black Album selling loads and loads. You know.
Well, I don't have to say much about that, but I think you're probably right because there's a lot of people that thought the Black albums when they sold out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they did. There's a lot of great
No,
stuff on there.
no, there's good stuff on the
Good
Black Album. I don't see it
progression.
as a sellout either. I just see as them wanting to do something different. They've been doing these long things. They want to, just try something different. That's fine. I didn't really have an issue with it, but I just think as just far as the musicianship and the songwriting and the way it was on Master of Puppets is more akin to their masterpiece, I believe.
Elder, if you
Oh,
were going to introduce a 16-year-old who's never heard Metallica to Metallica, do you choose Master of Puppets?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, Master of Puppets is the only Metallica album I own. I
Well,
never
there
really,
you all right,
never,
case closed then.
There you
I never
go.
really got into Metallica that much. I don't know. I tried and just, I don't know. And I don't listen to it that much, but I think it's one that, you know, people should have in their collection. If they're going to have one Metallica album, that's probably it. Then again, I've just heard the others through iTunes and I don't know. They're a band that, I have yet to really delve into their catalog. I think their music may be a little bit too harsh for me. I don't know.
I saw them on that tour.
The Master Puppets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, with the opening for Ozzy, I saw him.
Mm-hmm. That's where I saw them.
Yep. In Cincinnati.
I saw them in Columbus.
Oh.
But I will say this. I thought Ozzy still blew him off the stage. Because I don't know if it was the mix or it was... it just sounded horrible. It just sounded like a bunch of noise. But then when Ozzy came up, you could understand exactly what Ozzy was doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is that Ultimate Sin tour?
Yep.
Ozzy was good. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it was a pretty good tour. Jakey Lee was good, and it was Randy Castillo.
Jakey Lee was great.
Yeah.
Because I saw him twice on that tour.
Oh, okay.
But Jakey Lee was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was really good.
Mm-hmm. And Ozzy was coherent. I don't know. I could understand what he was talking about.
The only thing I didn't like about it was there was a little bit too much keyboard. Like he put keyboards in certain songs and didn't really.
Who was
need them.
playing keyboards on that tour?
I don't know who it was, but I don't know if it was
Was it Don Airey?
I don't know for sure if he was in the band at the time.
Might have been John Sinclair. No, I don't know.
He was on the first couple. Well, he was. Yeah, actually, no, you're right. He was on after tours. Yeah, I don't know, but I just remember like especially in Crazy Train, there's these keyboard dan keyboards in it, and some other stuff I didn't think was like, what is this?
I don't remember that. I don't know if maybe
they had another keyboardist that toured with them, toured with Ozzy in the 80s, but I can't remember. I have a book on Ozzy, and I know
Don Airey was the keyboard player like in the first few tours, like Bark at the Moon.
Right.
I don't know if he was there for Ultimate Sin.
And then they had some guy whose name I can't recall. I think he was with them for one or two tours. Yeah, I'd have to look in my book.
Is it Lindsay Bridgewater? Maybe?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Maybe that's who it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Don Airey composed that intro to Mr. Crowley on the spot because they felt they needed something. I mean, he's pretty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don Airey's the man.
Yeah, he's great with Deep Purple too.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
All right, Elder. All right. I'm good with that. All right. So, Rich, are you up already? You right?
Yeah, I'm up already. Yes.
We're just like zipping around.
My third pick, it's going to be Rush Moving Pictures. That's generally considered, supposed to be like them, at their best. If people who don't really like Rush aren't big fans, they probably own Moving Pictures. To me, it's not my favorite album of theirs. I'd say there's 3 Rush albums that I like more than that, and that's A Farewell to Kings, Signals, and Fly By Night. I mean, I think Moving Pictures is really, really good, but it's weird. That album came during a time where I stopped listening to Rush. I was really into Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres, and then I heard the song The Spirit of Radio on the radio, and this is a very contrarian view, but I hated that song.
Oh,
I was thinking, oh yuck, it's like, this is terrible, especially when he sings that line, "A salesman." I was thinking, oh, this is awful, and that made me. I stopped.
Watch it, Rich. Watch it. There's a lot of Rush fans in the comments.
Watch out.
Watch out.
Don't want to anger the Rush fans.
They're a tough.
I know.
A tough group.
It's a contrarian view, but I'm just being honest. And so when Moving Pictures first came out, I was still not listening to them. And Tom Sawyer, this is another contrarian view, has never been one of my favorite Rush songs. It's probably my least favorite song of Moving Pictures. But I think the rest of Moving Pictures is fantastic. I mean, Red Barchetta and YYZ, Limelight. I mean, side 2 is incredible.
Witch Hunt,
Vital Signs, which kind of pointed the way towards their next few albums. I mean, I think it's a brilliant album. I really do. but it's not my personal favorite. My personal favorite is The Farewell to Kings. I think that is, to me, one of the few Rush albums where I like every song. I don't think it has any weak tracks. It's not exactly their heaviest album, but to me, it's my favorite. I just remember getting it for Christmas of 1977, and first time hearing A Farewell to Kings and Xanadu, just being completely blown away. It's just like absolutely loving it, and I think A Farewell to Kings is kind of another kind of an overlooked Rush song. I think it's a brilliant song, and the instrumental section in that is really cool. The bass line that Geddy Lee lays down, over which Alex Lifeson solos. I mean, I think that song is phenomenal. But yeah, so like I said, Moving Pictures, definitely a great album, but there's albums I like more than that.
Yeah, I'd say Permanent Waves, that is my favorite. Because you're not into that next 80s era. It's like a perfect, not too much keyboards. Everything's balanced, not a weak song on it. I like the production on it. I think some of the best Alex Lifeson guitar playings on Permanent Waves.
I love Alex Lifeson's solo at the end of Different Strings. Like on the fade out, he starts kind of going, a little nuts, and it's like, wait, no, continue. It's like,
calm down, Alex. Calm down.
Like you shouldn't fade out right now.
Don't fade out.
Yeah, let him keep on playing. But I love the song Entre Nous. I think Entre Nous is a brilliant song. That probably is my favorite song off Permanent Waves.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, cool, excellent. All right, Andrew, you got another one in you?
I do. I do.
We'll go around one more time and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. So this category is going to fall under when live albums are your band or artist's definitive album or statement. There's a few of those. Kiss Alive is probably one of those.
Okay.
Peter Frampton Comes Alive is one of those. I'd say Live Dead by the Grateful Dead is one of those. And this is one we probably don't expect to see on Contrarians, but this is a definitive statement by a great artist. And if it wasn't for his mid-70s to late 80s period, we would probably be talking about him more.
Okay. What year did this come out?
This came out in 1973.
1973. I like it that we kind of have to guess. And it's
Frank
a live
Zappa?
album?
There's a live album, but nowhere near as cool as Frank Zappa. No, this is
Nowhere near as cool as Frank Zappa 1973
but
live
amazing.
album.
I mean, amazing album. This is the kind of album you want to pour yourself a whiskey on the rocks, make dinner, have it on in the background, and just blend into this music.
Tiny Tim.
No,
Neil
not
Diamond.
I was going to say Neil Diamond.
Elder's got it. Hot August.
Oh my God, Elder.
Neil Diamond.
What the hell?
Okay,
How
what
can
is
the
he
Elder
doing?
be so dialed in?
Yeah, why is that the picture they captured for this cover?
I think it's a cool.
Well, he's got his hand around his member, and the chicks dug it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great album, though. I mean, this is, and of course, double album, cool gatefold. You get look at Neil.
Neil's rocking.
Yeah, but this is a great album. You get basically all the songs from that first period of Neil's career, which is, I mean, there isn't a bad song on here. I mean, Solitary Man, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon, which probably couldn't come out today. Red Wine. You've got Holly Holy, which is great. I Said, which is an amazing song. Brother Loves Traveling Show, of course, Cracklin' Rosie. This is a great album. And his live versions are amazing. So if you only know Neil from Heartlight, his song about E.T., you should do away with that image of him, get Hot August Night, and then go get the later Rick Rubin albums, which are also amazing. His last 3 albums produced by Rick Rubin are masterpieces. But
I'm not going to judge the Elder but I am going to judge the Elder. Elder, how did you know that that's what it was?
I think it's when he said something about pouring yourself whiskey, and I don't know, it just came to mind for some reason. And it's smooth. It's I don't know. Some way he was describing it. It's like, and I was kind of joking, but I just like, well, Neil Diamond, I don't know.
Yeah, I was
So
joking.
far, he's guessed everything.
Okay, here's the thing. You want to know what's great about Neil Diamond?
Go ahead.
Almost every Neil Diamond song is about liquor or God. Like all the ones, even the ones that don't seem like they're about liquor or God, if you look further, they're about liquor or God. Which is
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. If you like liquor and God, then you need to get into Neil Diamond.
And who doesn't like both liquor and God?
That's exactly.
So, man. Great, two great things that go great together, right?
Wow, Neil Diamond. That might be the first time other than Jamie Laszlo bringing up Neil Diamond on Contrarians. That might be the only time we've had Neil Diamond on the show.
And he should probably get brought up more. I mean, he's a great artist, and again,
that's why we talk about this.
Ignore
stuff.
the early '80s, and yeah, I mean, he
go out and check it out. That's why we talk about it. All right, cool, excellent, Andrew. Holy crap, I didn't see that coming. Wow. Okay, Elder, what do you got? What's your last pick?
Let me see. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go with this. Okay, some people might not think this is some people might think it's their dark side. Other people might say the album before it, but I'm going to go with Aerosmith Rocks as being their dark side of the moon. Some people might say Toys in the Attic because of Walk This Way and Sweet Emotion. And that's understandable argument, but it's something about Rocks. They were just right there. It's kind of right before things fell off the edge. Because Draw the Lines after, it kind of got progressively
Draw the Line now.
No, I do like Draw the Line, but it just was, you could see that things were starting to maybe go a little south by that album. And but this one is like they're right there. It's full of fire. It's got some, it's Back in the Saddle and Rats in the Cellar. Then you got a good funky thing like Last Child and then Home Tonight, and it's just think they were firing all cylinders on this one, and it's my favorite of any era Aerosmith, I believe.
Yeah, it's mine too, and it contains my favorite Aerosmith song, "Sick as a Dog."
Sick as a Dog, yeah.
I just love that song, and I like the fact that they switched who was playing bass, like at the end of the song, because I think Joe Perry plays bass throughout the song, most of the song, and then at the end, and then later on, Joe Perry switches to guitar, and Steve Tyler picks up the bass guitar and plays the bass at the end. So I think it's cool that they did that, and they captured that. So yeah.
And Nobody's Fault. It's a great heavy song.
Yeah,
for them, it's was later covered by Testament on an album. So there you go. But like I said, some people might say Toys in the Attic.
I'd say Toys in the Attic, but I can't really argue with it. I think both of those records, if you're going to
any of those two, right in that era.
Yeah, but there is one thing about Rocks that I do like, because Back in the Saddle, Joe Perry's playing a 6-string bass on it.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
That's the riff, is a 6-string bass, which is kind of cool.
I'll say I don't like Draw the Line or Night in the Ruts. Those are really good albums, but they had just not quite as good as Rocks.
From Night in the Ruts, I love their version of Think About It, the Yardbirds cover.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah,
I think that's terrific. I think that's probably my favorite song of Night in the Ruts.
And Reefer Head Woman, I like that one.
Off Night in the Ruts, they used to play Remember Walking in the Sand.
They
used to play that all the time on
some covers on that too, because Reefer Head Woman's a
radio.
cover.
Yeah.
And they don't play
remember that on the radio, yeah.
But they don't play it anymore.
The song No Surprise I really like a lot too. I think that's kind of an overlooked classic of
they had a video for that, No Surprise, and Chiquita, but it had Jimmy Crespo playing guitar.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look those up.
They were both filmed at the same time. I don't know if they were filmed for a midnight special, but they were filmed at the same time. artists would do that. Sometimes I'd feel like 2 videos, performance videos, and they'd be like the same kind of setting and stage and all that.
Good old Jimmy. Whatever happened to Jimmy?
Crespo, I don't know.
I mean, he's a good player.
I think he played with Billy Squire for a little bit.
Okay.
But then after that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't mind him being in the band at all.
No, I like that wasn't too bad.
No, it was
Rock and
fine.
Hard Place was good. I saw that tour though. That tour wasn't. They weren't good on that tour. No.
Okay. All right, cool, Elder. Awesome. All right, let's throw it over to Rich for his last one. Rich, what's your final pick?
My last one is Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. And I think overall this is considered their best album, and I would completely agree with it. I think it really is their best. It's another one where I don't think there's any weak songs. And I love the artwork by Roger Dean. You know, it's a gatefold. I think it's one of his best covers. And also in the inside, you know, the album opens up like this for the lyric sheet and shows, you know, these hands with the earth, you know, above it. And then there's pictures of the band inside during the recording of the album. Yeah, I really think it's their best album, and it starts off with The Wizard, which I think is probably my top 5 of favorite Uriah Heep songs. And Traveler in Time is a really cool song. Circle of Hands is great. Rainbow Demon is incredible. Paradise and the Spell. That's at first I was like, oh, this is kind of, you know, a lot of acoustic guitar is kind of mellow, but I think it's a great tune. Yeah, I said it's one of those albums that to me just has no weak tracks, and I don't know really if I have too much else to say about it, but
I think you're probably right on that pick. I can't come up with anything else.
Yeah, I'd say my next favorite of theirs would be the first album, and then probably Look at Yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what Martin would have to say.
Yeah,
he likes like the 80, like Abba, whatever.
Abagam or whatever, Abamagog or whatever that is. Abominog or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Heaps of band. I'm just now kind of discovering actually because I love the last album they put out.
Well, a lot of their great
Chaos and Color, and so I was like, oh, well.
Everybody raves about those later records.
Later ones are good.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think Rich probably has it. I think that record is.
Yeah, Demons and Wizards. Yeah, that's one I've heard a lot about. Even
got their big hit.
Yeah.
Easy Living, yeah. And I was in 2 bands for a while. About maybe 10, 12 years ago, and both of my groups did The Wizard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I guess we wrap it up. I don't know. Anybody anything else they want to mention real quick before we wrap it up?
I wanted to ask you, Grant, what do you think Dix's Dark Side of the Moon is? Is it Grand Illusion? Is it Paradise Theater? What would you say?
It's Grand Illusion.
All right, the Beatles.
Yeah.
Revolver.
Ooh, more than Sgt. Pepper.
Well, I think Sgt. Pepper's pretty damn good.
No, but it's not. Yeah, like what is the definitive like?
Depends on what you like.
Public would say. I mean, that
what's the Beatles' Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to Dark
Side. If we're gonna say it's the Dark Side of the Moon, it would be Sgt. Pepper, as a creative milestone. What they did in the studio. The production, everything is great. But I think as far as songwriting and production and just, I think Revolver is probably the best. But you also could say Rubber Soul too. It depends upon what day.
Yeah, the Beatles.
But I do. Pepper was their masterpiece as far as stretching themselves out in the studio. Some people say the songs aren't quite as great. I disagree, but man, it's a great record. It's a perfect album, but the Beatles never put out a bad record. So it's what you take your pick.
Yeah. You know, and for Pink Floyd themselves, Dark Side of the Moon, there's probably 3 or 4 Pink Floyd albums that I like better than that one.
Me too.
Yeah, you know,
Piper's my favorite.
I would
Yeah, same here. I like Piper.
Here and The Wall. I like better than Dark Side of the Moon.
I like Animals, The Wall, and this is going to be contrarian, Final Cut better than Dark Side of the Moon.
I didn't like Animals before, but when they did the remix, it absolutely sounds stunning.
I didn't think it sounded that different. I ended up.
It got rid of all the murkiness. You
I
can
didn't
hear
think that
everything
album
clearly.
had any murkiness to it. I don't know.
Oh my God! It's like it was recorded underwater.
Really? I never.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Jethro Tull, would you say Aqualung? Thick as a brick? Which one would you say for that?
I would say Aqualung.
Yeah, I'd probably say that.
Yeah. Aqualung, Thick as a Brick, Living in the Past.
Yeah, but Living in the Past was a comp.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. To me, that seems like a regular album because I don't know. And there's a lot of, you know, great songs that didn't make any of their regular albums. You know, like Witch's Promise and Sweet Dream and Love Story, Driving Song, Christmas Song.
I suppose Aqualung's the best.
Yeah, I definitely think Aqualung is the best.
My buddy though didn't care for Aqualung. He thought that Benefit was a better record.
Yeah, I would.
Jethro Tull is one of those bands that until you get into their later period, they really don't have a bad album.
I don't think that unless, depends on how much later you're going, you know.
Well, I mean, let's say anything pre-A is
Okay.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah, so like they're
I like Minstrel in the Gallery quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean they're all good. That's the thing. Even like the weaker ones of that era are still really good. But Kinks, Village Green.
That's the best Kinks album.
Yes, Close to the Edge or Fragile.
I love them both.
Or the
Close to the Edge.
This is lightning round with Grant.
Yeah,
I can answer. Just keep them coming.
For Yes, for me it would be the Yes album. And
Close to the Edge is their masterpiece.
Better kind of, but yeah, Close to the Edge. I don't know if it's hard to dispute Close to the Edge just because it's so. I mean, basically, Close to the Edge is what makes prog. I mean, it's around.
Well, it's the quintessential prog album.
Yeah.
But it's not one of my favorite Yes albums too, which is funny. And that's another contrarian.
But if you're looking at the dictionary and they say, what is prog rock? You put Close to the Edge in there as the graphic. And that's pretty much.
And also King Crimson and the Court of the Crimson King would have to be in there too.
Well, I would say that's what.
But is that prog or more psychedelic?
Well, no, that's prog. Oh, that's definitely prog.
Kind of psychedelic.
So you're saying Left Overture?
For Kansas?
Yeah, Left Overture or Point of No Return?
Ooh, that's a good. Ooh, boy.
I would take
Overture.
Left Overture over Point of No Return, definitely.
I like Point of No Return better.
I do too. I like Point of No
with
Return
the Dark
a lot.
Side of the Moon. What's Kansas's Dark Side of the Moon? People are going to say Left Overture.
I think my favorite Kansas album is Song for America.
So that's a great album, right?
Yeah.
Well, all those records prior to Monolith
I think it
were
was
fine.
I think it was their best sounding. I thought Song for America was their best sounding album too. It's just, you know, everything just sounds perfect on that. The guitars sound, you know, great, and the bass is really up in the mix. And yeah, I think it's a great album.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's one that I totally disagree with, but
Here we go.
Led Zeppelin's Dark Side of the Moon would probably be 4. I would. My favorite Led Zeppelin is Houses of the Holy, which no one would put in there.
No, I would.
That's mine.
That's mine. Houses of the Holy is my favorite.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, then maybe House of the Holy is their Dark Side.
Yeah, no,
I do like House of the Holy.
No, everybody will say Led Zeppelin 4 or
I like the variety.
Physical Graffiti. A lot of people will say
Which I don't understand at all. Physical Graffiti, I can't listen
because
to.
it's just a bunch of tracks kind of gobbled together.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I like about House of the Holy is like the variety of music on the album, and I even like the lyric sheet, the way the lyrics are printed out on the inner sleeve. You know, it's and also it just seems like they're kind of having a lot of fun on that, for songs like The Ocean and The Crunge and
The Crunge, yeah.
and Jamaica.
Jamaica.
I mean, it's just, they sound like they're just having a blast,
I think it's
Can't
a
argue with that.
All right, I've got one more to throw at you, Grant.
Oh,
The
God.
Cure.
Disintegration.
Really? So you would put Disintegration, not
Oh,
have
wow.
more
That's a
pornography
masterpiece.
or anything like that.
So much better. Disintegration's a perfect album.
It's my favorite Cure on pornography, but I understand that
Pornography is no. Disintegration is where everything really comes together. Production, David M. Allen's production on it's great. The songs are all great. There's nothing that the sequencing of the album is great. The instrumentation, everything.
Lowell Tolhurst had checked out by then, though, so it's
Who
hard.
cares? He was a minimal player. All you needed was Robert Smith. Disintegration's the masterpiece.
I mean, Simon Gallup's pretty important too. I mean, they are a band. I know it's his face on the cover, but that's.
Wish is not bad, but that's where I think you get Disintegration.
Yeah, that
Wish
gets a
is
bit
like that.
poppy. Yeah,
That's where
Right.
it just went up to. Disintegration's the peak, and everything else just went.
yeah, and a steep decline.
I mean, Blood Flowers. That's the Cure trying to be the Cure. Disintegration. They are just pure
Mint Car.
Cure.
Mint Car is literally the last new Cure song I ever heard.
Best Cure song after that, I think, is Want.
I don't even know
Want?
that. Yeah.
Want is on Wild Mood Swings. It leads off the album.
Oh, yeah, then I guess I do know that. Yeah, I know Wild Mood Swings. I had that, but I didn't like it.
Wild Mood Swings is a lot better than you think it is. It's a little bit kind of haphazard, but there's some of the greatest Cure stuff on on Wild Mood Swings. Want is brilliant. And a lot of the Cure stuff, the B-sides that were never on records, were even better than what was on the albums.
Well, that's when they did their compilation. They did "Standing on the Beach," and they had the deluxe album with the B sides on it too. It was much better because those B sides were great.
Right.
Right.
Well, there you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm going to end this show because we could go all night talking about this. People in the comments are going to go, Jesus, you guys, you go on and on. Well, we're just talking music on the Contrarians. We want to hear from you. What do you think? Throw out a band. What is their dark side of the moon? We all have our opinions, and it's all about turning people onto music. That's all we're here talking about. So let us know down in the comments. Other than that, if you'd like to be on these panels, we'd love to have you. We have a Patreon. You can join that. Usually we have the videos show up early on there, except for Martin's reliving. I just throw those up because, come on, it's 5 minutes long. Come on, I just throw them up. But big shows like this will go up on Patreon first. We also have a Ko-fi. Buy us a pint or a cup of coffee. We would love that. We also like donations because we love money. But we do this because we are just trying to turn you on the music. We're not here to make money. We're just here to talk music. So anyway, please subscribe if you haven't. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add. Anybody else have anything to end? We'll wrap this dog up. We're good. All right, gentlemen. Yeah. Andrew, the Elder, Rich. We will see you on the next one. What's the next show? I have no idea. Probably this. All right. We'll see everybody. Have a good one.
Okay. So.
See ya.